Hi everyone, and welcome to my very first YouTube nail tutorial. Today I'm going to be showing you all how I sculpt my own nails. I already went ahead and took down the acrylic, so then I'm just going to sculpt over these. I'm going to do the prep, prime process and everything, application, filing from finish to end on one hand. So very quickly, let me show you guys what products I'm going to be using. I will be using all Drea's Nail Shop products, also including some items from the Nail Prof collection that I will be releasing in January, so just in a few weeks. It's a brand new acrylic line for professionals. Comes with the full system, liquid, powders, primers, top coat, everything. I'll also be using some of my old classic products from Drea's Nail Shop, 8080 grit files, my sanding bands, my favorite nail forms. I'll be using, this brush has not come out yet, but it will also in a few weeks. This is a size 16 brush, Kalinsky. And for the bits, I'm going to be starting off my prep with my sanding band at a pretty low speed. If you have a digital drill, I would say at about a 3 or 4. And I'm going to have it at a parallel position on the natural nail, never causing friction, to make sure that I'm sanding it out really well and removing all shine, dust, and unevenness. Mine's going to be super uneven because I did have acrylic on here and I didn't completely remove it, just because that's how I choose to do it on myself. Why I like to have it at a low speed like this is so that you see how it keeps stopping. That just means you're applying too much pressure. So if you were working on just the natural nail and it's stopping like that, then that means you're overfiling the client's nail. So because I'm working, there's little pieces of acrylic on me, it's not that serious. I can go a little bit harder with a little bit more pressure, but on the average client where it's just their natural nail, you want to make sure you're applying very light pressure as to not overfile the natural nail. So then you're gonna want to go ahead and do that to the whole hand. Once you have all of them all sanded up, there's no signs of shine or any oil spots, you go in with your cuticle bit. This one I like to have it at like a medium high, so if you have a digital drill, anywhere from like 8 to 10. And same thing, parallel, not denting it inwards. You don't want to cause damage to the natural nail, any dents. But with this one, you will be pushing the cuticle back slightly as you use it. So you're applying most of the pressure to push the cuticle back instead of pressing down on the natural nail. And same thing, you never want to cause friction. You always want to make sure you're lifting the bit to prevent causing heat to the client. And this bit is a diamond grit, so you can literally touch it on your skin. It's not going to cut you. So don't be afraid to push the cuticle back with this one and really open up the nail bed. Now that we are all prepped and primed, we can go into applying our forms. I personally like to apply one at a time so that I'm not moving them or moving them around while I'm working on one, so they don't fall off. These forms are my favorite. They are so sturdy, so sticky, and I like that they're long because I like my long nails, but you can also use them for shorter lengths as well. I have the numbers on the sides and also the chart right here to help you with the correct shape that you want to go for too. It has the little lines here for if you want to do stiletto, coffin, square, whatever it is you want to do. I like to stick this back here for support. It's not absolutely necessary. The form is pretty sturdy without it, but it's just habit. I always throw it back there. And then I like to go back here, connect these tabs, make sure they're even, and then place the form right on the finger. Look at it from the side, make sure it's not sticking up or sticking down. And once it's in position, I like to connect the bottom tabs and make it nice and tight around the finger to make sure it's not going anywhere. Depending on what shape you're going to do, is how pointed out this is going to be. I personally like coffin, so I am going to point this out to where this is barely open here, like that. And looking at it from the side, there's no gaps. Everything's good to go. So it's ready for application. Using my Smooth Set Nail Prof liquid. So put her up. Let's pour some in. And my Nail Prof Baby Pink acrylic powder. Open her up. Also my primer. So I like to apply 2 coats of primer and make sure to carefully apply it on the nail only. Try not to get it on the skin. Some clients are very sensitive and the primer can irritate them. So just very carefully applying it on the nail only. And we're ready to apply. Okay, so I'm first going to start by making sure that my brush is nice and clean, nice and flattened out, no acrylic stuff in here. We're going to pick up our first bead and we're going to apply it at the free edge. This here is the free edge. It's also where I apply my apex. The apex is the stress area of the nail. All of my support will be held right here. So I like to start building a bead there. That way I can start to create it to make it nice and thick, but not too thick to where it's going to make my nail look uneven. So I start with the medium-sized bead like this, and I apply it right at the stress point. This acrylic will self-level on his own, so I don't really have to do a whole lot of tapping and dabbing to smooth it out. I just kind of have to guide it. And when doing forms, let gravity help you. Place your nail down so that it will naturally start to flow down. So I'm just very lightly tapping it using the body of my brush to start bringing it down. Okay, so got that first bead there. And now I'm going to create my length. Again, I like mine pretty long. So I'm going to go ahead and apply another bead down here, just to bring it down to my desired length. And here I will brush up so that I don't create any dents or creases that will make it difficult to cover up later. So I'm going to be going down to an 8. All right, so now that I have my desired length, I can start to build the nail to give it some strength. When picking up a bead, you want to dab, dab, dab. You never want to drag or dip it right in there. So let's do another free edge apex bead. And again, just let it kind of flow on its own. Of course, it's going to naturally fall into the sides. So just pick up the sides with the body of the brush, constantly cleaning and re-dipping your brush, not so much liquid, so that the acrylic doesn't get too runny. To help start guiding it down. I like to always build the body of my nail first. Body along with my apex. I usually leave the cuticle area for last. This helps me create a smoother application so that I don't have to do as much filing when I'm done. I like to look at my nail from all angles to make sure I'm doing it nice and even. Okay, so now let's start to build a little higher. This won't be my cuticle bead just yet. It'll be slightly closer though. I want most of my product to sit up here as to start building the apex, but I also want to make sure I clean up the sides. So using the tip of my brush, and I get in there to make sure I'm not flooding any areas of the nail grooves or the cuticle. And then I'm going to blend that in. So now if I look at it from the side, I can see that there's a little dip right here. I'm going to want to go ahead and get that covered in, and I'll show you guys how is the easiest way to do that. So you're going to get a bead, place it right where the little dip starts, apply it sideways like this, and you're going to face your nail down, immediately brush this up here very lightly. And then bring the rest down. You don't want to drag too hard because then you're just removing all of the product from where you want it. So I always say work in a light feathering way. If you feel like you're too hard-handed, try holding the brush a little further out like this, not too close to the tip. Okay, looks like I got most of my nail already. All I need left is the cuticle area. So for the cuticle area, I'm going to use a very small bead, and I'm going to leave a little bit of space between the cuticle and my bead. So very small, like this. Do a close-up. So I'm not applying it right at the cuticle, but I'm flattening my brush into the cuticle. That way I have control of how much goes in there. And then immediately brush it down. And if you got acrylic stuck in there, flooded a little bit, don't stress. You can just, again, go in with the tip of your brush to clean it out. Okay, so looking at my nail from the side, from all angles, to make sure it is just how I want it. Right, so now that our application is complete, we can then go in to remove the forms one by one. This is so satisfying. And to double check that your acrylic is dry, if you tap on it and you hear a little clinking sound, that means it's ready to go, it's dry, you're able to take off the forms. Right. Super clean on the back side. And one of the reasons why I love sculpting is that because we go down to the same number on each one, they are all the exact same length. You don't worry about sizing or anything like that, like with tips. You just sculpt them down to the same number and they're automatically all the same. This is what we got. Now it's time to file with our 80/80 grit. When it comes to filing techniques, I like to always start by cleaning up the bottoms here from the little overflow of acrylic on the forms. That's totally normal. So I like to always start by just cleaning that up first. And the way you file on yourself will look a little different than when you file on client. The reason why I like to use 80/80 grit files is because they're very coarse, so they're perfect to take down acrylic without having to put in as much work as if you were to work with a finer file. So I'm just going to go ahead and clean up the bottoms on all of them first before I begin shaping. Make sure it's nice and straight and crisp. So once I've cleaned up the bottoms on all of them, now I'm going to start shaping. I like to sandwich my nail between the file and my finger, and I like to file at an inward angle to get my shape nice and crisp. And I like to do this on both sides. Make sure the file is hitting the entire surface of the nail, not just the tip or not just up to the center, but the entire surface. And then once you got both sides nice and crisp, you're going to go in and smooth out the top. Again, this is why I like to use the 80/80 grit file. This helps take down the acrylic and get it nice and smooth pretty fast. And when doing the tip, you want to look at it from different angles to make sure that you file it straight and not off-centered or anything.
Is that the color red? I can see.
So now that they are all sanded and filed, I'm gonna go in with my buffer to remove all the little file marks. It's just a quick little light buff so that when you top coat it, you don't see all those little file marks. So at this point, I've removed all of the dust with a little dust brush, and I'm gonna go in with my fan bit at a low speed, like at 5 or 6, to remove the little dust particles that are hiding in here. That way when I apply my top coat, I'm not dragging down any dust particles. I'm gonna do that to all of them. And then once you get the cuticle area, you kind of go over the rest of the nail. It's gonna give you a nice clean, shiny top coat application. If you have this on a too fast of a speed, then it could possibly hurt or burn the client. And this bit is reusable as long as you sanitize it properly, like your other bits. You can keep using it. It's not a one-time use bit. This is my favorite bit. I feel like it's very underrated. Not enough people use it. It's amazing to get all the dust out. Okay, so now that that's done, we go in with our top coat to make our nail shiny. I like to do half of the nail down to the tip first and not too much top coat, because if you use too much top coat, it's going to kind of clump up and mess up your shape so it's not as crisp. Alright, so I'll do the tip first and then I will slowly push it up to the cuticle. Once they're all glossed up, we go ahead and put into the light for 60 seconds. So once cured, this is what they look like. So we just go in and moisturize the cuticles. You don't want to get it all over the nail, only on the skin. Because then if you get it on the nail, when you go to take your pictures, it's going to make them look all cloudy. You don't want to overdo it with the cuticle, just very little. And rub it up into the fingers, underneath. I always recommend my clients buy their own cuticle oil so they can continue using it to keep their nails looking fresh. And here we go. This is the finished look. Using all our new products here, Nail Prof, as well as some of our classic Drea's Nails product like the brush, sculpting forms, bits, and everything. And everything is available on our website, www.dreasnails.com. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give me a like and subscribe, and leave me a comment on what else you would like to see me do for these videos, because I plan on doing more. Thank you so much.